Hey everybody, it's Jason Creel and this is the Lawn Care Life. Today I have got 7 things that the lawn care person gets blamed for. So maybe you're mowing lawns or doing weed control and you've been blamed for things. Some of them you might have done, some of them you didn't. So I came up with a list of 7 things that you're likely to get blamed for if you're in the lawn care business. No particular order. Let's get started with them right now. Number 1, I've got some personal stories to go with some of these. Scratch on the car. That's not a good one, because the reason being, a little scratch on a car, obviously, to have that, and a lot of times what they tell you when you go to the body shop, they'll say, oh, we can't really touch that up, we're gonna have to paint the whole door, you know, or the whole rear fender, or whatever it is. And sure enough, it's $500–600, you know, to paint the whole door, because if we just touch it up, it won't match. Well, this happened to me one time. I was I had a crew of guys that were working for me at the time, and they were at a non-profit organization, which I will leave unnamed, but let's just say I don't give any money to them anymore. But they said that we put a scratch. One of the employees come out there. Now I'll admit, this place was bad, and there were rocks and stuff everywhere. And this lady has a fairly new car, not necessarily a nice car, but it was, you know, in good shape. And she has a minuscule scratch on her door of her car. And of course, who do you blame? I got a scratch on my car. Who did it? The lawn guy did it, of course. And so they call me and tell me that your people out here mowing the grass and put a scratch on the car. I have no idea if that scratch had been there for 2 years or if we did it at the time of the scene. You know, I wasn't saying we didn't do it. It's just, how do you know in those situations? Well, that one I ended up just paying for it. She went and got a quote, and I just paid for it. I thought, you know, and you know what happened? It doesn't surprise me. I ended up losing the account anyway. They got a new person in charge, and he wanted somebody different. Now, you know, and that was just fine. So you think sometimes, well, I'm just gonna eat this cost. I'm gonna pay for it. Maybe I'll, you know, keep the account, because if I don't pay for it, I'm gonna lose the account. Well, I paid for it and you still lost the account. So anyway, just how it goes sometimes. Number 2 thing you get blamed for is a broken window. Now, I've broke some windows before. You might have seen some of my videos where a lot of times I don't use a guard on my string trimmer. I even had an edger one time that didn't have a guard on it. That's not really recommended. And matter of fact, I believe it was with that edger one time with that has that little rubber flap on the back of it, and I was edging. Now, this has been years ago, okay. I think I slung a rock, and it was a glass, like, storm window that was like solid glass in front of the actual front door, you know. I said window, I meant door, like the instead of like a screened in door or a wooden door, you know, it had a glass door, solid glass with just a frame around it, and then the regular wood door or metal door was behind that. Well, I go to the edge of the sidewalk, and sure enough, flung a rock, and it just shattered that door. Fortunately, those are not that expensive. This as a side note, you don't want to go making a bunch of claims on your insurance or something that costs $200, you know, because your insurance is going to go way up on you. So I would save that insurance claim when you really need it. But in this situation, we had to put a door on. I had a friend of mine who knew how to do that, and he helped me put the new door on. Matter of fact, I remember now, I shattered my own truck window one time through a rock, and busted out my side truck window. So definitely a hazard there. You want to be careful, and one of the probably the best reason to use a guard on your string trimmer, even though a lot of times I still don't use one. The third one, now this is gonna be more for those in the weed control business, but if somebody has a dead shrub, now I've seen shrubs or trees or whatever, and they die, and who are you gonna blame? The guy that's spraying the yard. Now, I had somebody recently blame me. It was the neighbor of somebody whose yard I tree, and I'm thinking I got blamed for killing something, and I thought, well, I said, I spray the grass, I'm not spraying the shrubs. And 2, all the shrubs in the actual customer's yards is alive. So you're telling me that their shrub survived, but this shrub that's over in your yard died, and it was my fault, you know? So anyway, if I've seen people, and I get customers this way. I mean, I feel bad because sometimes I try to defend the guy who got blamed, but I remember some people their hostas were out there in the smoking hot sun just getting their leaves burnt off. Who'd they blame? The guy spraying the yard. I said, well, you know, sometimes those hostas don't like that much sunlight, you know, or their roses get this little disease where their leaves turn, get growing clumps. I don't remember what it's called, but I've seen that, and they blame it on the lawn guy, and I'm like, no, that's a disease, or an insect or something. That's not the lawn guy spraying it. Anyway, dead shrubs is a great one to get blamed for if you're in the lawn care business. Now, I'm not saying it can't ever happen. It can happen, but I'm just saying it's easy to be the scapegoat even when it's not your fault. All right, the fourth thing is brown spots in the grass. Now, it may be from the dog peeing in the yard. It may be, you know, the homeowner, like I'm out there spraying. I'm not mowing the grass, but somebody, whoever mowed it, the homeowner, whoever scalped it, and there's a big brown spot. Or it's they hadn't watered the grass and it's 98 degrees and we had no rain for a month. My yard's turning brown. It wasn't brown when you started spraying it. I'm like, yeah, and it was raining back in March and about 20 degrees cooler too. And you know, but now it's August and you hadn't watered your lawn. It's gonna turn brown. That's what happens, you know. So anyway, people look to have somebody to point the finger at, and it could be an insect or it could be anything. Some customers, again, and let me just say this, most customers are great and reasonable, but some just look for somebody to point everything. They think, well, if I'm paying a lawn guy, nothing bad should ever happen to my lawn, no matter how little effort I put in as the homeowner. So if I don't water in an extreme drought, that's okay. I'm paying a lawn guy. My yard should still look good. I'm paying a lawn guy. It's like, no, that's not exactly how it works. I try to emphasize it's a team effort here. And the lawns that look the best are the ones where the homeowner also puts in some effort. So, you know, brown spots in the lawn, no matter what the cause, sometimes you can get blamed as the lawn care provider. Number 5, you let my dog out. I've actually let some dogs out, and that's not good when you let the dog out. When you ever see me, you let the dog out and he kind of runs around for about, you know, 30 seconds, wagging his tail, and he comes running back. It's kind of a sigh of relief. And then you got those other dogs that you let those out and they take off like they are not coming back, you know. And I thought, oh no, there's no way I'm catching that dog. And you just hope that somehow it'll come back. And anyway, I have let several dogs out. I try not to let them out. The one that comes to mind now is a year or two ago, this person had a dog in the back, and they said, you know, close the gate behind you. And anyway, they had a little string over the latch, like a loop string over the latch. Well, I go back in the backyard and I close the latch on the chain link fence gate, but I didn't put the string over it. Well, I found out real quick why they had the string. The dog goes up there, and he's a smart dog. He takes his nose and lifts up the latch on the gate, and out he went, and he took off. Fortunately, they found him, apologized to the customer, and that was definitely my fault. But letting the dog out is something that you get blamed for, and you know, just be honest, a lot of times it is our fault, but occasionally the dog might get out, might dig out, might jump the fence. I've seen that before. A dog, I come back in the backyard and the dog just goes crazy. It's not my fault, and the dog literally climbs the fence and is gone. I didn't let the dog out. The dog was just crazy and it ran away, you know. So anyway, letting the dog out is something you can definitely get blamed for. Number 6 is my car got dirty. You know, this one I think is going to take a little bit of joint effort. You know, maybe we're not communicating well enough. You've seen somebody, I've seen people that you can just tell they keep their car immaculate, and it's just you know, you never seen it dirty. And if it's parked in the driveway and you're mowing the grass and it's kind of dry and dusty, guess what? There's going to be dust going places, you know. So it may be a deal where you just have to communicate with that customer like, hey, we're mowing the lawn today and it's going to be dusty, and you know, you might want to park your car in the garage, you know, or buy a car cover or something, because I can't really be blamed for all of that if the car's sitting out there and it's dry and dusty. But it's something that, you know, definitely want to try to avoid. Obviously blowing the clippings straight toward the car, or straight toward the house, or straight toward whatever you don't want to get them on. But you know, in some situations it's just hard, and I think the way to handle that is just communicating better with the customer. And the 7th thing I want to mention, and this is more for us in the weed control business, but if there's any weeds in the yard, sometimes the customer blames us for that, and that's again maybe it needs better communication, better expectations, you know, to manage those expectations. But the one that comes to my mind is every year we'll have spring weeds, and it's this awkward time where this warm season grasses, where it's March or early April, and it's starting to get warm where the weeds are starting to really grow. But some people just don't like cutting their grass, and they wait and wait and wait, and they'll have spring weeds, maybe it's burnweed or just henbit or whatever in the yard, and they go out there and they say, oh, I got some weeds around. You go and you say, man, and the yard has not been cut all year, and it's already on into the season, or maybe they cut it once in March and now it's late April and they hadn't cut it again. So it's been a month since you cut your grass. I mean, you know, in that time of year, it just greatly helps if the homeowner will pitch in and start mowing their grass. And the weeds just do not like lawnmowers. Now again, I'm not taking away from what a weed control professional is supposed to be doing and getting rid of the weeds, but you know, anybody that's been doing it a while knows that frequent mowing is one of the keys to helping keep the weeds out and having the yard look good. I'm sure there's other things on the list. You know, if you're mowing grass, you might have somebody, you might mow all your yards at a certain height, and you got some customers say mows it too high, and some say he's mowing it too short, and it's, you know, the reason it's not doing great is because of the way he's mowing, or he's trimming too close to the edge. You know, look how he cut it too short where he was trimming, or he didn't edge right, or he edged too wide with a string trimmer, or he should have used a stick edger, or I wish, you know, whatever. There's all kind of people that's got things, and the key to me is continue to communicate, continue to be patient, but also continuing to get rid of the really hard to work with customers that just never going to be able to please, and replace them with customers that are more reasonable, because the overwhelming majority of my customers are very reasonable, and I think the communication is a big part of it. So anyway, if you got anything to add to the list, you want to elaborate, you got a story to share, let me hear from you in the comments. I'm Jason Creel. I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. There's over 500 lawn care videos on the channel, and if you're in the lawn business, you can go over to lawncarelife.com. There's some resources available for you there. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.